Welcome to research writing class. We're going to be looking at topic selection because this is one key and a very important section of your research writing. Without having a very good topic, you're going to be having issues with your work. Without having topic that you are conversant with, topic that you are convenient with, topic that you enjoy, you're going to be having a lot of issues with your work, and that may drag you into having extra years and paying extra funds. So we're going to be looking at our outlines, which is first is in understanding research gaps. Well, when you want to choose topic, you need to understand research gaps, because from there you can create out your own topic, a standalone topic that will be relevant and that will be good for the not just for your research work, but policy recommended topics or research work. And so number two, we're going to be looking at aligning interest with academic or industry relevance. And you're going to be looking at also formulating research objectives and questions. This is key actually, because if you miss your research objectives and questions, you might get your work muddled up. So your research objectives and questions are very important when it comes to research writing. And then we're going to be having a session of practical in which you're going to brainstorm and finalize your topic. So we are good to go, right? So understanding research gaps. What are research gaps actually? It's not some word that is ambiguous. It is unanswered question. That means when you open a journal, you're looking for, or an article, you're looking for an unanswered question or lack of evidence, areas where there are lack of evidence or insufficient findings in a field. So when you address a research gap, it had value to the society, and it also prevents redundancy and advances knowledge. So you can see now that research gap, addressing research gap is key. You're not repeating one, you're going to avoid the that is the error of repeating someone else's research work. That is preventing redundancy, and also you are adding value to the society and to knowledge too, and you are as stated here, advancing knowledge. So why do research gaps, why do they matter? You want to know why do they matter? One, it matters because it increases relevance and contribution to academia and industry. It increases relevance and contribution to academia and industry. Number two is it attracts funding and stakeholder interest. When you have a good research topic, or you carried out a good research, you could attract funding and stakeholder interest because you are actually solving a problem, perhaps a society problem. So in that case, policymakers and also other stakeholders can be interested, and they might decide to fund that particular research project and make it a reality. And number three, it enhances chances of publication in reputable journals. Yeah, we have different type of journals, but if you want to get the good ones, the ones that are of high impact factor, then you must make sure that your research work stands out, and it starts from what your research topic. So how do you identify research gap? First off is you read extensively. You read peer-reviewed journals, meta-analysis, articles, and the rest. That is one how you can identify research gaps. You can also critically evaluate inconsistencies and outdated methodologies. And another way to check research gap is when you check the future research sessions and studies. It's almost at the last end of every journal you pick or article you pick, you're going to receive future research. And when you go through it, you're going to be seeing something like, I would advise other researcher maybe to carry out longitudinal study of this, or to try out the qualitative approach of it, or and the rest like that, just to help to get a complete or a comprehensive view of that particular research. So that is how you can identify research gap. For example, now let's look at this as an example across field. In healthcare, That we have limited studies on long-term vaccine effects in under research populations. You know, over research like the urban area, we have many works about them, like developed countries. We have many works around them. But how about underdeveloped areas, like some countries that are not well known, or some rural areas that are not yet pronounced? People tend to shy away from such places. So if you really want to contribute to knowledge, you can try rural areas sometimes. So for example, that just as I said stated here, studies have been limited when it comes to long-term vaccine effects in under-researched populations. In technology, there's lack of scalable AI algorithm for low-power devices. And when I mean low-power devices, I'm talking about all these powered wristwatches and those devices that use low energy, low power. There are no, we don't have enough evidence to scale them. And number three is through, for example, another example is education. Insufficient data on hybrid learning in rural areas. We might have sufficient data for urban area, but for rural area, we have insufficient data to check what the effect of hybrid learning, if it's effective or not in the rural area. There are a lot of examples. I just brought out those three just to give us an insight of what it means to fill a research gap. So tools to track research trends. You can track research trends using citation analysis like Scopus, Web of Science. You can also try research databases like PubMed, IEEE, Exploit. You can try academic alerts and newsletters. Then another critical thing is aligning your interest with academic and industry relevance. This is very critical. How to align your interest? You might be passionate about something, and then you don't know how to connect it in a way that it will bring relevance in the industry, in the world at large, or in the society. So how do you do this? Connecting them is very easy. Just identify your passion, identify your skill, identify your career goals. And let me be using something like, for example, you are passionate about mental health, and let's say you studied psychology, and you're so passionate about that, and you want to carry out a research that is going to attract maybe funding, or that's going to attract stakeholder interest. What do? You try to look for topics that will fit industry. What type of industry are you looking at now? Are you looking at the healthcare industry, or the educational sector, or some other form of industry? So you're going to, based on whichever industry you're looking at, you're going to align your topic, that passion you have, to fit into that industry. And I must not fail to tell you that in as much as you want to make it relevant, and you want it to align with academic and with align, I mean to say align with academic and industry, don't choose topics that you are not comfortable with. Don't choose topics that does not excite you, and don't also choose topics that do not align with industry and academic needs. Reason being that the first part that I mentioned, that you should choose topics that excite you. Research writing, research work, researching can be tedious at times. And if you don't work with topics that you are excited about, you might get stuck along the line. You might get stuck, and then it might lead to spillover because you are not excited, or perhaps you don't even understand the topic. Don't choose topic, don't go ahead with topics that you don't understand just because your supervisor asked you to. You're going to be hooked in the long run. So choose topics that excite you, choose topics that align with industry and also academic needs. Let's now look at how to align our interest, or your interest, with academic and industrial relevance. Still continuation of what I talked about. First off, I talked about mental health, and I talked about maybe you try to go through the educational sector or healthcare sector. Research industry trends that aligns with that. Try to check up what are the new things, what are the things in vogue with regards to that industry. Then don't focus on abstract thing, focus on real world impacts. Real world impact, not something abstract that doesn't add any value to the society. There are some common pitfalls that you need to avoid even as you choose your research topic. Number one is avoid over research topics because they hardly add new thing. It doesn't have any novelty at all because it's so common. And number two is avoid underdeveloped topics, topics that are just coming up, no substantial evidence. Last, I think some years ago, I worked with a particular client, and we were in a chapter two, and we kept on searching for literature review to buttress our work, but it was difficult because what it was an underdeveloped topic. It almost gave us problem, but if not that, okay, we've been maybe we were able to navigate that particular problem, and she was able to scale through. So avoid underdeveloped topics. Avoid underdeveloped topics that they don't have, you don't have enough evidence. I would say that before you even settle for any topic, kindly go online and search articles, journals, maybe textbooks that are related to that topic. Do you have it? Because you are going to be needing them in your chapter two. And most time your chapter two, which is the literature review, is the bulk of your work. Maybe you were supposed to have as an MSc student, you're supposed to have not less than 100 pages. PGD maybe not less than I think 200 pages or so. So your chapter two is one of the places that you have to add the bulk to your work. So if you don't have sufficient literature review or sufficient journals or article for your literature review, you're going to be finding it very difficult. So avoid underdeveloped topics, even though you love it, except you are ready to go through the stress. Except that. But if you know you are not ready, you don't have that time, then don't choose topics that are underdeveloped. Look for, if you say that's your passion, look for that. We have multiple passions most time, so look for another of your passion that is next to the one you prioritize before, and go for that one. That will save you a lot of problem, a lot of maybe setback in the end, and maybe finding it difficult to navigate through the process. And I would also say that when you are choosing a topic, have a particular journal that you will use as a guide for your work, especially if you don't know how to go about it. But find a simple journal that explains everything step by step. Perhaps maybe you're looking at knowledge, attitude, and perception of people, maybe in the rural area that deals with maybe malaria, diabetes, and the rest. Look for a journal that have done a similar work before, something similar to that particular topic you're choosing. Use it as a guide. It's going to save you a lot of headache because you will not be stuck, and you will not be over dependent on your supervisor, because at this stage it is expected that you know what you are doing and then you can run along with it. So choose topics that you can have a guide, like an article or a textbook guiding you, or a particular journal, you find an article there that is guiding you. And when you get such articles, save them, keep them. You're going to be needing them for maybe with subsequent ones in your chapter one, two, three, four, and five, in whatever case it may be. So I always advise people that have a journal, have a particular article that is guiding you in that research you are doing. I want to look at how to formulate research objectives and questions. Most times some persons are stuck here, and they don't know what to do, or they have a different research objectives, and their research questions are not answering their research objectives. Whatever research question you are drafting, it should answer your research objectives. So these two work hand in hand. And most time you see aim and objectives. We don't have aims. It is aim, one overarching aim. Then you now have a supporting objectives to help you get to that your aim, to achieve that your aim. So how do you now set or formulate research objectives and question? One is, make sure that your research objectives are smart. Smart in what sense? They are specific. It's not something that you are confused. You that you wrote it, you are confused, you don't even know what to do. Make sure that they are specific in the sense that define what you want to achieve with your objectives. Maybe as I talked about mental health earlier on, I want to look at the effect of social media on the mental health of teenagers. That is my aim. That's just my, so I want to set a specific objectives. First off, I will say to to for example, conduct or to check or to analyze the relationship between time spent on social media and mental health of teenagers. That is number one. Two, Number two, to analyze the impact of content shared on social media on the mental health of teenagers. That is my, it is so specific, it is straight to the point. It's not ambiguous, it's not confusing anyone, and anyone that pick it up, including my supervisor, can understand what I am saying. And number two is make sure that any objectives you are choosing, it is measurable. And if it's possible, quantify the elements where possible, quantify them. So don't just choose topics that are not measurable, that are just endless. No, they are specific, they are measurable. Number three is choose topics that are achievable. Ensure that they are feasible. It's not something that you will not be looking for how to gather information and then you are stuck. Make sure that any topic you are choosing, or your objectives, I mean to say, it is feasible, it is achievable, you can do it. And make sure that they are relevant in the sense that it's aligning with academic and industrial needs, and it is time bound. Don't choose topics that will exceed your time, the number of years you're supposed to spend doing your MSc or PhD. Set a clear time frame. You can use your Gantt chart to set from this day to this day, I'm going to be getting my research topic, and this day to this day, I'm going to be getting my journal, this day to that particular date, I'm going to be writing my research proposal and to submit it to my supervisor from this date to that other day. But what I'm going to be doing is I'll be waiting for the feedback from my supervisor, or I will develop my questionnaire. That's your tools for your research. For your fieldwork, you're trying to design your questionnaire tool, and maybe you do a pilot test or a pre-test to check the reliability and validity of your study, of your research instrument. You can do that just like that. You give it a specific time and you strictly adhere to it, so that you are not stuck, you are not caught in between. And that is how to set your smart and specific, I mean to say, smart research objectives. But we have, as I said earlier on, we have aim and objectives. Our aim is the primary, the main goal. Maybe the main goal is to evaluate a new diabetes intervention. That is our aim. The secondary objectives are just supporting sub goals. They're just supporting to help you get in depth of that the aim or the main goal that you have chosen. Then I talked about that your research question should not contradict your research objectives. They should go hand in hand, because if your research question contradicts your research objectives, you're going to be having issues later on. reconciling your data interpretation with your objectives, or your conclusion or your summary with your objective. You're going to be having serious issue with that. So number, I use explanatory words when you are dealing with strong when you're dealing with research questions. I said something like the when I was talking about the mental health, the impact of social media on the mental health of individual, of teenagers. And I think my first objective that I said was to assess the impact, or the impact of the time factor, the time factor that is the time spent by teenagers on Facebook, on maybe social media, in regards or in respect to their mental health. So I'm going to be using how. The question I'm going to be asking now is, how do time spent on social media affect the mental health of teenagers? So I've automatically changed my research objective to my research question. Use explanatory word, what that ask question. Then do not make that mistake of taking it out of your objectives. It should be like you are changing. It's not even like, it is you are changing your research objectives into questions to help you at the end, maybe your chapter 4 or 5, when you are trying to interpret your data, to check. Then look at this example. The objective is to study the impact of AI tools on student performance. What is our research question? Our research question is, how do AI writing tools influence academic performance among university students? So simple. So simple. There's no ambiguity. There's nothing like, it's not aligning. It is aligning with your, or with our research objectives. So we have actually come to the end of selecting topic selection when it comes to research writing. And I want us to brainstorm on some questions, or on some, to see if we actually assimilate what has been taught. So this is your take home assignment. Your activity is just list at least 5 research ideas based on trends or gaps in your feed. That is that feed of interest you have. Most time when somebody comes to me and they are consulting for research writing, I'll ask them, do you have a topic? They say no. What is your feed? What are you passionate about? Some comes with, okay, mental health, some come with malaria prevention, some come, and from there we can formulate a topic, different topic. And sometimes I do it in a way that, sometimes we have different passion. I ask them, what other thing? Okay, I'm interested in maybe mental health. I'm also interested in malaria prevention. I'm also interested in diabetes prevention. I'm also interested in looking at the impact of HIV on maybe retroviral drugs and the rest. So what I do is, in the order of priority, we look for a topic around their first priority. Keep that topic. Same, and follow for other that I just as the other ones come up. And then we'll submit to the supervisor to choose in cases that you have to submit. And sometimes that maybe you don't need anyone to choose that for you, just go ahead. And so that is it. List at least 5 research ideas based on trends or gaps in your feed. Then consider academic relevance, industry demand, and personal interest. Number 2 is evaluate each idea based on clarity. Is your topic well defined? Hope the topic you're bringing, is it very clear? Not that you meant something and then you are putting out another thing there. So check for feasibility to evaluate your idea for relevance. Then finalize and align with smart objectives. That topic you have chosen, finalize it, analyze, and align it with smart objectives. So see you in the next class, in the next video. Thank you for your time.